Rachel Ramey, and I'm going to talk today about solutions to global problems, specifically water in India and the Amazon. So in case you don't know who I am, my name is Rachel Ramey, and I'm from Dayton, Ohio. I study civil engineering with a minor in Spanish. I'm also in the STEM Path to the MBA program, and what that means is it's for STEM students, and we stay a fifth year, and we get our MBA once we graduate. I've studied abroad several times. I studied Spanish in Spain. I've been to Peru. I spent the spring in Colombia, and this summer we were in India. And next year I'll be traveling again. I'm going to be in Brazil as a foreign scholar. And so I'll be studying Portuguese and natural resource management. So we're all connected by this fundamental need for water. We drink it, we use it to cook, we use it for industry, we use it to grow crops. And most people don't realize the amount of work it takes to make all of this water we use every day available. This map has two different purposes. The first one is if you failed geography. India is over there on the right. It's circled, it's the orange country. And the Amazon is a region, it's not a specific country. It's the northern part of Brazil, Colombia, Peru, and Ecuador. What this map also shows is by the colors you can tell the countries with adequate access to sanitation facilities. And so the green countries have good access, and the countries closer to red have poor access to sanitation facilities, which means it could be toilets, it could be bathing facilities, fresh water, things like that. And so tied to this map, 80% of diseases in developing countries are caused by unsafe water and poor sanitation. And so what that means is you have doctors who do amazing jobs curing diseases. But looking at it from an engineering side, if 80% of those diseases are caused by water, and you can attack the root cause of that and make that water safer, you can effectively eliminate up to 80% of those problems. So, the first thing we're going to talk about is we don't know what they need. When we're going and trying to solve these problems, solving problems across the world, we don't fully understand the problems sitting here while we're in Alabama. And so what we have to do is we have to go. And so it's the Amazon. And this is the Amazon. The river is about a mile wide in places. It's full of dangerous currents, strange creatures. There are tribes that live remotely away from any type of civilization. Also a lot of exploitation, which we hear about a lot. We hear about illegal logging, poaching, illegal mining, things like that. But deep down in the jungle, the only way you can get there is by boat. And there's two types of boats. You can take a fast boat, or you can take a slow boat. Either way, you have to take all your supplies with you, all your water, all your food, all of the supplies you're going to need to do any projects. Because if you get 5 hours down the river, and you realize you forgot nails to build your composting toilets, there's no stores to go to. You better find a really good innovation, because there's nowhere you're going to get those supplies. The other way is by this boat that you can see on the left. And what this is it's called a pecky-pecky. That's what they call it, and it's a wooden canoe. And you can see the man in the back, he's standing there, and he has a motor attached to a long stick, and he's guiding us down the river. And there's a woman sitting in front of him, that's his wife, and her job for 3.5 hours was to take a little bucket and bail water out of the boat. And so I'm sitting in the front of that boat, and there's little streams of water coming, and I'm taking my chewing gum that I have in my bag and trying to patch them up so I don't end up on the bottom of the Amazon River. But the important thing is that we're going, that we're trying to reach them, trying to understand the problems that we're solving. This is the Maimuna tribe, and they've been there for hundreds of years, but they don't dress like this all the time. There's a lot of influence from the communities, from the cities nearby, and so they dressed up like this to welcome us into the community and share a little bit of their culture. This is a typical home. And you can see it's up on stilts, so that in the rainy season, when the Amazon floods, the house will be above the water. The family probably has 8 to 10 children. They all sleep on the floor. Out in the open, you can see there's no walls on that house. It's the Amazon, it's hot. But that's also a problem at night when the mosquitoes that carry malaria come out and there's no protection from that. Going back to water, this is the river that they live on. It's a tributary of a tributary to the Amazon. And this river is effectively the source of life and the source of sickness for this village. And so they use this water to drink. They use it to cook their food. They also throw trash in that water. I saw people using the bathroom in that water. There are water buffalo who spend the entire day in this water. And so you can see how the disease might cycle through. You can see how problems with sanitation can stem from this river. So these are two little girls. The girl on the left, her name's Lacey, and I met her in the tribal village in the Amazon. And the girl on the right, I never knew her name because I didn't speak her language. She's in India. But she faces similar problems. She lives in a tribal village and outside of a tiger reserve. And so both these girls live on opposite sides of the world, but facing very similar issues. They're both about the same age, just looking towards education, trying to grow up. But there's problems due to the governmental influences, there's problems with water access, problems with losing their culture to outside communities who are trying to exploit them. So we don't know what they need. We don't know what the people need unless we go and actually sit down with them and try to understand. But there's also the problem of once you're there, maybe they don't know what they need. A lot of times there's barriers due to education, due to economic access, for them to really be able to articulate their problems and look for a solution. The problem with that, though, is even if you have a solution, most people aren't going to be very receptive of you walking in from another place and saying, you're doing this wrong, you need to do it that way. Very few people like it when you walk in and tell them that. And so this is us in India. We went to India this summer with the STEM Path to the MBA program. And what we were doing is we were going to villages trying to find a solution to poverty through innovation. And what we would do is we go into these communities. This is a tribal village with the girl that you saw in the last picture. She's actually in there in the middle. And we would go and you talk to them about their problems, about their issues, about their goals, about things that are trouble in the community. And we did that over and over again. I like this picture because it shows kind of the situation that it is. We're all sitting in this tiny house and the doorways are probably about up to here. But we're all sitting in her living room and talking to the lady in the front. That's her home, and she's in charge of the house because her husband's sick. And we're talking to her about ways that she might improve her farming strategies and ways she might improve her life. And so water in India is it's similar to the Amazon, but it's different in a lot of ways. And this is one of the ladies we came across on one of our field visits. And what she's doing is that pipe right there you can see is a pipe from the government. And that carries water that's supposed to be clean. It's supposed to be filtered. And usually you pay the government to install a pipe. And this family, these women didn't want to install a pipe. So what they did was they dug a hole in the ground and they sawed off that pipe so they could get fresh water. And so they were very, very proud of what they were doing. They were explaining to us how they were going to tell the government, give the government a piece of their mind if they ever showed up. But they used innovation. They are very proud of what they're doing. But the problem is the quality of this water. And the idea of bacteria and viruses that make you sick and water that looks perfectly clear is a problem that needs to be overcome. We talked to a lot of people here. We said, do you filter your water? And they said, yeah, we do. And they showed us a strainer, effectively a kitchen strainer, and they said, we put this under the spigot when the water comes out to catch the worms. That's not exactly the type of filter we're talking about that catches that microscopic bacteria, but that's what people understand. And so that's a big barrier, a big issue of working with water access is convincing people that it's going to be useful. So we don't know what they need unless we go there. They don't know what they need, and they're not very receptive when people try to tell them sometimes. And the other thing about it is, how do you define success or failure? It's hard to measure when you're solving these big problems what success is. How do you define it? And so one of the ways, from that first map we saw, with the quote from the UN, they measure success of water by access to sanitation facilities. And so what these are this is one of the composting toilets we built in the Amazon. And a composting toilet is effectively a latrine above ground. All the waste collects underneath, and you throw an organic material on top. It composts, and you can take it out. You can use it to grow vegetables, things like that. And we spent a long time developing this. We went the first year, we went back home, we spent a year designing it. We translated the designs into Spanish. We worked with the community to build them, to teach them how to do it. We taught the community in classes, saying this is important. Your children will not become as sick if you use this. And I spent the summer for an internship there, and I went back to those communities, and not very many people were using these. So they have the access to this sanitation facility, but they're not using it. They're choosing not to. And definitely everybody hadn't thought it was the greatest new thing and built one in their backyard. And so, did we fail? Did we not succeed in what we were trying to do? Should I give up on water? I'm 21 years old and I failed here and so I'm done? I don't think so. I think success looks different for these type of problems than other problems. I think we need to take little successes and work through the failures and just learn what we did wrong and try to move on to find better solutions. So maybe you've never been in the Amazon. You probably have. And maybe you didn't know where India was before today. You couldn't have found it on a map. But these aren't just problems halfway around the world. There are people in Alabama without access to running water. There are people in Alabama who don't have access to a sewage system to dispose of their waste. So it's not just a problem halfway around the world. And maybe you don't care about water. But what do you care about? Education? Women's rights? Healthcare? Whatever it is that you care about, that's a big problem that hasn't been solved yet. The same type of situations apply. The idea that we don't know what they need until we go in and sit down and try to understand. That they don't know what they need. There's economic and educational barriers. And then there's barriers to us when we go in and try to implement a solution. And then success and failure, working past our failures to try to find our successes and work towards a long-term solution. Because in the end, we're all solving these unsolved problems. If there was an easy solution, it would already be done. But that's what we're going to do. And that's how we're going to impact people, is by taking what we care about, taking our passions, and keep working on it until we solve it. Thank you.